You know what happiness is to me? 30,000 feet in the air with nothing above and nothing below. The sound of luggage wheels chattering at my heels, last calls, and you can't take that in here, echoing every 5 minutes through static speakers. Hi, I'm Gillian, and I'm a self-published author. Imperfect Words is my debut collection of prose and poetry. So growing up when we were little, my mum would read Sesame Street and Muppet stories to us, and eventually I developed a hatred for reading until I moved to Dubai, and my English teacher, she forced me to read Anne of Green Gables. And once I read that, I couldn't put books down. I was in and out of the library often, and eventually she taught me how to hone my writing, and that's how my literature journey into especially starting this book started. I started having a blog called Imperfect Picture, and that's when I started writing little snippets of my thoughts and what exactly I was going through. It was only about 3 years 3 years before, that I decided to, maybe someone else will want to read this, and I decided to have it into a book. So my inspirations were, I fell in love with slam poetry. So poets like Sarah Kay, Phil Kay, Rudy Francisco, they spoke their feelings and they spoke their truth, and that really resonated with me. So I wanted to also do the same. There was a lot I had to say. There was a lot I went through. And I thought, the only way I could communicate was through my feelings. And that's basically what Imperfect Words is. It's my feelings all in a book. What happened was, I actually didn't even realize that other people would be reading the book, because it was more like an open source for me to deal with. But then I found Rupi Kaur. I was on transit in Bali, and I was going through the duty free and looking for books to read. My phone, I had to conserve battery, so I was looking for books to read, and I found her book. It was short little snippets of poetry and prose, and it was good because you would immerse yourself in one poem, but you wouldn't have to stay tuned and stay focused on the entire novel, so that you wouldn't even miss your flight. So that it was nice. So I wanted Imperfect Words to have this similar sort of sentiment, where whether you're traveling, whether you're waiting for an interview to start or something, you would always have this short little snippet to read and just switch off from the world from. Imperfect Words is a collection of prose and poetry. They're stories of love, lust, falling out, and everything in between. So I wanted to capture the horrors of falling in love and the beauty of piecing yourself back together. And there are odds and bits and pieces that fall into place while you're getting through, and obviously through it. Imperfect Words started as Imperfect Picture online. It's actually called Imperfect Picture, and I had a WordPress account. Imperfect Words was just me compiling my thoughts into a Word document, and it was back and forth. I started it 3 years ago. I never knew I would be holding a physical copy of it, and it feels surreal. To be honest, there was no thinking process. Like I said, I wrote this book for me to deal with what I was going through, and it was just plus points that somebody else resonated and felt relatable to it, thought it was relatable. The creative process as such of the entire book process was a bit complicated. I had to learn a lot about formatting. Just pressing enter on a Word document doesn't create a new page. You have to add a page break. Formatting on Kindle and ebooks is a complete different ballgame. Color tones, sectioning off, making sure there's a flow from A to Z, and it's not just haphazard thoughts or whatever's going in my mind. So yeah, that was the creative process. So while I love doing the poetry and prose collection, I am strongly passionate about saving animals. It has been ever since I was small. I wanted to do something that would make a difference to the animals in the world. And recently, well, not recently, but recent in the last 20-30 years, Sri Lanka has been struggling with the human-elephant conflict. And I thought, why not combine that and create awareness for that through words? So I'm thinking, hopefully, if everything goes well, I might release a series of children's books to educate children around Sri Lanka, because children are our future after all. We cannot implement things because it's easier to teach a child than to teach an adult to change their ways. So I'm hoping to create a trilingual book about a series of elephants and how we can coexist, or at least attempt to coexist in a world where humans and elephants will get along.